Serious men of Reddit who got raped by women, what's your story? Girl drugged me at a party with something, woke up with her riding me bareback. Couldn't move or resist her, passed back out. She got pregnant and drank her way to a miscarriage. All my friends laughed at me because she's so hot. I don't care if she was hot, it really fucked me up in the head for a while. Had bad experiences of being drugged and used by a woman for sex. Had no idea it was happening until I came to during the middle of it once and I was too weak and fucked up to stop or end it. I had told a friend about it and she confronted the girl who did it and the crazy admitted she had been doing it for years at the time. She'd either get me drunk and slip me Seroquel or wait till I was passed out and rape me. It took me years to finally be able to trust women again. I was lucky enough to meet my now wife during that time and was comforted by her understanding and companionship. Even better, she waited 5 years till I was ready to do it again. Edit, holy cow. I did not expect this comment to get to where it is now. I've tried to respond to everyone I could. If I didn't respond I am sorry, but I have at least tried to answer every question that was asked. Also an obligatory thanks for the silver, gold, platinum. I didn't even realize that Reddit had something more than gold. My sister raped me when I was about 10. Never got anyone to believe me. She is still the family sweetheart and everything is centered around her. I am the weirdo who left the moment he finished school and never moved back in again. I was sexually abused by my piano teacher from ages 9–11. It got to the point where I wasn't even learning anything from the lessons because the abuse would last the whole 2 hours I was there. I'll spare the grisly details, but when I was 10, I pretty much had the sexual awareness of someone 3 times my age, and had done pretty much every sex act you could possibly think of. It's so unbelievably hard to convince someone that you, as a male, was raped by a female. The response was either, "Where was she when I was your age? Women can't rape men," or, "You should have enjoyed it." I've faced stigma from pretty much all corners of my life about this, so I just don't talk about it anymore and let it bottle up inside me until I have a panic attack. It basically ruined my life. I don't know how to love. I have an incredibly fucked up relationship with sex. I have so much guilt that it becomes unbearable sometimes. It's caused me lifelong depression and multiple suicide attempts. All this, and people still think I should have enjoyed it. Edit, had to clarify something. I was raped by an aunt when I was 11 years old. I blocked it out till I was 21. It has fucked up every relationship I have ever had and has caused countless sexual issues for me. I have never confronted her about it and I am just waiting till the day she dies so I can piss on her grave. I am almost 50 and when I think about what happened it still terrifies me. When I had kids I never trusted anyone to ever babysit them. The whole incident caused me not to trust anyone around children. I was 19, she was 17 and my best friend's sister. Having party at his apartment and went to use the bathroom, she waited for me and yanked me into a room and said if I don't have sex with her she was going to tell everyone I raped her. Being drunk and scared, didn't know what to do. So I let her push me onto the bed and when she got on top of me I tossed her to the side and ran to the door but she wedged it shut blocking it. Begging me to do it. So I started screaming Carlos' name, my friend, he comes to the door and pushes it open with her. Didn't say a word, got in my car and left. She says she doesn't remember anything. Short and not so sweet. House party at a cabin. Passed out early and woke up to her riding me in a dark room. Pushed her off, told the party what happened, fought her friend, and moved on with my life. Got laughed at any time I mentioned it so I just stopped caring. Wish it was that easy for some, bummed that y'all have had more traumatizing experiences, sincerely. Edit, whoa, this blew up. Thank you for the silver and for everyone who shared their stories and had so many kind things to say. This community is amazing and I hope those of you who are hurting or were hurting feel some happiness or healing from this. A buddy and I had plans to get super drunk and play CS:GO when I launched. I was extremely drunk and my roommate let this one girl into our place. She was obsessed with me. To be clear, I was so drunk I couldn't log into Steam. Next thing I know she was pulling the condom off of me. Before I blacked out again. I don't know if I have repressed the emotions from it. But I still think about it a lot. I got addicted to Xanax in my senior year of uni as a result of my ex-girlfriend cheating on me. I was blacking out pretty frequently due to mixing alcohol with bars. It was like time traveling to the next morning every time. I woke up one day next to my ex with my pants off. She admitted to fucking me while I was basically unconscious. I told my roommates that it bothered me, but she was hot, so they had zero sympathy. College was a weird time. A girl who worked in the dorm I lived in was really into me. She would ask if I wanted to fool around all the time. She was fine looking, I guess, but I just wasn't into her. Honestly, I don't know why she was into me. I was always cordial but never flirty. So my roommate and I went to a bar and she was there. I came from a party, so I was pretty sloshed. I vaguely remember her being there, which I thought was a bit odd since she doesn't drink. Roommate was doing his thing but told me the next day she was just feeding me drinks. I woke up in her dorm naked with a condom on, thankfully. Gathered what I could find and took off. It was textbook date rape, but that can't happen to Guy. Admittedly, it's never really affected me other than the embarrassment of her loudly telling my whole friend group and lunch I left a shoe and my shirt at her place. True walk of shame. One shoe and no shirt. I've told a few people and a few people have laughed about it. I was going to post this from my other account, but whatever. I was a 20-year-old virgin, in university. I'd always been super shy around girls despite being a mostly popular athlete in high school and college, so I avoided most of the situations that would end in sex. There was a girl who I liked quite a bit. We'd been friends since grade 10. We'd always talked about dating eventually. Once we were both done with college, I'd moved from Canada to USA in high school, and had settled into careers. Anyways, let's get to the meat of this. During the summer of 2007, I decided I wanted to try and woo her. I got into contact with her best friend about throwing her a surprise birthday party. I also got accepted into a Canadian university, so I was going to drop that news on her the same night. For weeks we planned the party over Facebook with a small group of friends, and I made all of the arrangements to move. Part of the planning was purchasing alcohol, obviously. We went all out. Hundreds of bottles of beer, Grey Goose, Hypnotic, Elise, Sparks, Smirnoff Ice, etc. We bought a slushy machine as well and tons of Red Bull. The night of the party finally came. I started pre-drinking with my best friend and the rest of the party committee while we waited for my soon-to-be lady to arrive. In retrospect, her friend, the one we planned the party with, had been flirting with me and I never picked up on it. This was probably because I wasn't attracted to her at all and had tunnel vision on my love interest. I got so drunk and messed up from energy drinks and vodka that I was throwing up before my lady even got to the party, so I decided to slow down and go lay out on the deck until she got there. When she arrived, everything was awesome. We were both super excited and a couple of quick kisses were exchanged before the drinking commenced again. Eventually I threw up again and it felt like my heart was fluttering, so I asked party planning friend if I could crash in her basement. My best friend took me downstairs and laid me on the bed and I passed the fuck out. I don't know how much time went by, but I felt my shoes being taken off. I woke up halfway and passed back out. I came to again and my belt was being undone. I couldn't make out what was going on really, but I figured it was my best friend trying to tuck me in or something, and passed back out. The next time I came to, it felt like someone was shaking me. I opened my eyes and someone was on top of me. I remember trying to push them off a couple of times before I passed out again. The last time I woke up was in the morning. There was the naked friend next to me in the bed and an empty condom wrapper on the ground. I felt sick to my stomach, but not in a "I just got raped" way. It was more of the "what am I going to tell the girl I'm interested in" way. I walked upstairs and she was already up, on the couch. She was staring daggers at me, and before I could say anything she started cussing me out. I tried telling her that I didn't even know what happened, and she told me that if I didn't want it I wouldn't have gotten hard, and maybe I shouldn't have gotten that drunk. I shouldn't have, but that's besides the point. I started getting pissed that she wouldn't believe me. I told my buddy to just take me back to his house. On the ride back he told me that he'd tried to come check on me but the door was locked, so he thought I was getting laid. It's been 12 years and neither of the girls have talked to me. No apologies, no asking my side of the story, nothing. I did see the girl who took advantage of me in a nightclub a couple of years later with her boyfriend. She tried making small talk with me, and grabbed my dick through my pants while her BF was in the bathroom. I basically told her to fuck off and haven't seen her since. The thing is, I've never felt like a rape victim. It definitely sucks that it happened, especially the way that I happened with me losing my virginity in that way, but I'm not traumatized or anything. Since then I've had mostly awesome sexual experiences, and my one rule is that I only have sex if both parties are completely sober. TLDR was virgin, got drunk, passed out. Girl who knew I liked her best friend fucked me while I was drunk and passed out in her basement. I dated a girl whose cousin was into me. I suspected but never really knew, and I often thought myself big-headed for thinking that just because she was nice to me meant she's into me. Well, the girl I was dating cheated on me and I was pretty broken up about it. The cousin invited me over to talk about it and I did. I really just needed someone to talk to, and as I said, she had always been good to me and she was good at holding conversations. So I show up one afternoon and we are just hanging out and I'm talking and she's helping me work through it all, and she pulls out some wine and she's barely sipping it while my broken-hearted ass was downing glass after glass. Soon she starts complimenting me and I'm super drunk, and it was nice to hear that kind of thing, so I thank her for being so nice and I give her a hug. That's the last solid thought I have. The rest is foggy, but I remember her pulling her boobs out and holding my head to her chest and saying stuff like, "It's okay, I love you," and I have a memory laying on my back while she's sitting on me. The next morning I wake up naked from the waist down and she's completely naked on top of me. I'm unsure what to do, but I had to leave. I gave her some bullshit excuse about having to help my dad with something that morning and that I'd call her later. I didn't, and I was caught between still feeling heartbroken, feeling as though I had betrayed everyone's trust in me, and feeling guilty because obviously I had done something to make her feel like I wanted that to happen, and when I tell her I don't like her in that way I'm going to break her heart and lose her too. Eventually we did talk about it, and sure enough I was the asshole who had sex with her and used her. Typical guy bullshit. I think she said. I felt pretty fucking terrible about it for a long time, and of course everyone she told hated me for it too. Looking back on it now I realize she took advantage of my situation and raped me. I don't think it was out of malice, and I'm sure she did want a relationship with me, but that doesn't change what she did, nor does it make it okay. It messed me up for a long time, but I'm okay now. Edit, even now I'm getting people laughing at me and saying I did it to myself and that it was my fault and blah blah. This happened a long time ago and I've since moved on and am okay, but this is exactly why so many people, guys and girls, keep their mouth shut when this sort of thing happens to them. If you read the story I was asked to share and have an opinion about what you think actually happened, keep it to yourself and move on. The majority of men who are raped by women are raped when they can't resist. This case was no different. I wasn't able to consent and she went to town. Reverse the genders and there wouldn't be such a stigma, but I'm sure you assholes would still ask the poor girl, "Well, what did you think would happen?" or some other idiotic bullshit. No, she didn't beat me, hold a knife to my throat, or was violent in any way, but if you're in a room with someone who's on the verge of passing out, don't fucking touch them and think it's an okay thing to do. She raped and gaslighted you. Hugs. Throwaway because, obviously. Sorry if this seems rushed, I have to leave shortly, I'll edit it with better detail, answer questions later if anyone is at all curious. So exactly a year ago I met a girl who I really liked, we ended up becoming pretty much best friends. We hung out all the time, she was a huge fan of going out and getting hammered, but I'm really not the type for that sort of thing. I'd do it occasionally but Anyway, she lives pretty far from the usual party areas, so I'd normally end up picking her up by the end of the night and she would sleep over at my place. I don't have any extra beds or anything, so we'd just crash in mine together. The thing about this girl is that she does not handle her alcohol well. She has been raped twice, once very recently, and I think that could be a big reason for her aggressive behavior while drunk now, but I digress. One night after picking her up she was pretty insistent on having sex. I thought of this girl as more of a sister than anything, and I'm not a fucking scumbag who takes advantage of drunk women, so I told her, "No. Go to bed." After several no's, she must have come to the conclusion that she had to be more aggressive about it. Grabbing my dick, kissing my neck, whatever. I obviously swatted all of these attempts away, grabbing her by the wrists and looking at her dead in the face and telling her to fucking stop. She stopped, but laid on top of me. I took it as a small win and just let her lay there hoping she would pass out and I could finally get some sleep. Of course it didn't end there, though. As I started to doze off, she practically sprung into action and held my wrist down with one hand, and the other with her knee, one hand by my head, the other by my side. She took this opportunity to grab my soft dick and try her best to insert it into herself. At that point I fucking lost my shit, headbutted her, and screamed at her when she fell backward. Kicked her out of my house, and haven't talked to her since. EDIT 1, formatting got screwed somehow so I'm fixing it up a bit. EDIT 2, changed some wording to avoid a seriously messed up misunderstanding. Rape is too strong a term for my experiences, but maybe this is relevant. Had a stint of my life where I drank excessively. Many women seem to feel no remorse in taking advantage of a blackout drunk guy. I usually wouldn't confront anyone about what happened the night before, I most often just left. But if we flip the script, a man doing to a woman what these women did to me would be seen as heinous. I have changed my habits, I don't drink the same way, and I don't drink with strangers. Attempted rape by my stepmom. But I couldn't get it up so she held a knife to my throat for a bit, grinding a bit, then gave up when she wasn't getting anywhere, then threatened me and left. To make it worse, she did this to try and get me to come so that she could say I assaulted her and use it as a weapon against my dad for a better divorce outcome. I hope she went to prison after that. Nope, I didn't report it. Didn't even tell my dad actually, I discovered it on my own and it's well past the statute of limitations at this point. Telling my dad now, would likely just get me a talking to, asking me why I didn't use the information to blackmail her for money. Edit. Apparently the statute on this doesn't run out, I still don't want to bring charges, but if others who experienced that do, it's an option for them. I was a 16-year-old virgin. GF was 17 and had been with 9 people at the time. Got drunk for one of the first times and she practically carried me back to her place and undressed me, then got on top of me and I kinda realized what was happening. I had just had a conversation earlier that day as my dad drove me to her house about sex and using protection and their importance, which was all flashing through my head. I tried uselessly to push her off of me. I weighed maybe 120 pounds, mumbling as best I could about condoms. She kept saying things like, "Shush, it's okay, just lay still, you'll enjoy it, we don't need that, don't worry, just stop moving, you'll enjoy it." Then was held down while she somehow got me erect enough to shove inside her as she ground against me. Don't really remember much after that. In the morning she was acting like it was totally normal and like she was proud of taking my V card. I felt sick and left. I just wanted to say that everyone posting their stories here, you're all super brave and I have endless respect for all of you. Take my upvotes and be well. I was 16 years old when a teacher at high school felt I would make a good prospect for grooming into a sexual relationship after I had spent 6 weeks in a psychiatric institute. She allowed my father to flirt with her enough to start spending time at our house. My parents were split up and I lived with my father. What my father didn't know was that she was getting closer and closer to me, and eventually started engaging with me sexually. At the time, I wasn't really able to understand the difference between a relationship with her and messing around with girls my own age. I didn't see a difference. I thought I was winning at life. I was wrong. I didn't understand it at the time. It took maybe another 15 years to understand the impact that she had on me. For everyone who thinks that it's okay for adult women, she was 30, to sleep with teenage boys, you don't understand the resulting impacts, which included. For years, I didn't understand why sex between adults and teenagers was wrong, genders be damned. When she broke up with me when I was 18, I didn't know what I had done wrong, and thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't explore normal teenage relationships, because I thought that I had something better than that already, so I missed out on some pretty important stuff. I began to define my value as a person based on my sexual desirability. I was only as good as the people who would sleep with me. For many years, I failed to understand that a person who is entrusted with the responsibility of caring for someone else has an obligation to not take advantage of that person. I thought that's just what people did. It was normal to me. Looking back, I am 45 now, I can only hope that my blurred understanding of what is or is not socially appropriate didn't hurt too many people. I cannot think of any specific situations where I actually acted upon anything that I would not be proud of today, but I couldn't confidently guarantee to you that there aren't people out there who would feel differently. I had several decades of wild instability in my relationships with other people and with myself. It took a long time and a lot of therapy for me to learn how to understand my thoughts and feelings and to know which behaviors to control and how. Dude, you fucked a teacher? Awesome is seriously the wrong message to send to boys, yet you see it in the comments anytime there is a story about another female sexual predator working the school scene. It's messed up, and we need to change how we react to that situation. We were out with friends at a local bar and a mutual friend was trying to hit on me throughout the night. I wasn't attracted to her and didn't want to be involved. I just wanted to blow off stress with friends making a fool of myself on the dance floor. I got more drunk than I had intended, so I walked over to my friend's house to puke and then sleep on the couch. I remember waking up to a loud clamor at the front door, followed shortly by her and her friends coming in. I was still really drunk on the couch and she mounted me and started making out with me while others cheered. My head was still spinning and at some point the rest of the crowd left to the rooms while I was left on the couch with her. Next time I woke up I found my belt undone and pants zipped open, but the house was quiet. I was sobering enough to be able to make the walk to my dorm, so I left. At this point it was about 4 a.m. I don't know what happened, that's all I remember. I clearly communicated I didn't want to be involved with her earlier when I was sober, and still feel that way. So it's definitely rape. I just never thought about it or told anyone until reading these responses. Kinda sucks that none of them evaluated if I was even doing okay. She was my girlfriend, and got quite drunk one night while we were out with friends. She eventually made a pass at a friend, propositioning a threesome, which I declined and dragged us out of there. On the ride home, she got increasingly agitated, until we got home and she dragged me into the bedroom. Then she wouldn't take no for an answer, was hitting me, spitting on me, ripping my clothes off, calling me worthless and whatnot. I kept saying no, but she wouldn't accept that for an answer, and eventually I just shut down and let her do whatever she wanted. The worst part is that I couldn't stop my body from acting aroused. I hate everything about that night. I can't think or talk about this without tears silently coming out of my eyes. I hope the therapy I've decided to go to will help. I don't know if I would go as far as to call it rape, but there was a strong element of manipulation and coercion that I later realized was not really okay. I had a friend with benefits, and as is usually the case, one of us caught feelings. She wanted more from it, and I was open with her and told her I didn't. Stupidly, we didn't stop then, and the situation got worse. She was aggressive, especially when drunk, and we would regularly end nights with her screaming at me across bars or down the street before sleeping together. I got sick of this and tried to end it several times. However, I was drinking heavily at the time and she knew she could turn up at a bar when I was wasted, start an argument so that I'd go off with her away from my friends to sort it out, and then we'd end up going home together. After this happened God knows how many times, I finally managed to break it off more properly and avoid her for some time. After a while, maybe a month or two, of not having seen her, she asked me to come round to clear the air, try to patch things up as friends, etc. Foolishly, I went. We had some drinks, but I noticed that she was constantly topping mine up, and even gave me her drink when I'd finished and the bottles were empty. I remember a feeling of almost coming to in the middle of having sex, like someone had turned on a light, and realizing what I was doing. I felt awful. I faked coming and left as quick as I could. I stayed away from her after that, and managed to get her to leave me alone for a short while, but I felt horrible. Like I said, I'm not sure how I would describe it. I consented at the time, but she got me blackout drunk and I wouldn't have consented without being in that state. I definitely played a role in my own downfall, but I certainly felt tricked, coerced, manipulated. I'm almost certain she had planned it, and she knowingly played on my vulnerability around alcohol. Yes, that's rape. And I'm sorry it happened to you. Plenty of girls out there with similar stories, and we'd all agree you're part of the club. No throwaway because fuck it. My friends that may find this in the future, if you don't know about this already, feel free to come talk to me about it. TLTD, my ex-GF got drunk and lied about not having anywhere to go that night. Showed up at my house and I did my best to sober her up and make sure she was safe for the night. Woke up to her on top of me and I froze. Finally got her to stop and get off, cut all contact with her, and spent the next several months in therapy. So here's the story, it's a long one, sorry I'm advance. I was raped by one of my best friend's sister last year. I was late 20s and she was a few years younger. We had dated for a few months, but things ended rather amicably due to life circumstances. Because of this, we had kept in touch so that things wouldn't be weird within the friend group when we all hung out. Long story short, I got drunk and started sexting her one lonely weekend. We got on video chat, had some fun, then made drunk plans to hang out later that week. The next day I realized that wouldn't be a good idea and messaged her telling her as much and that I was sorry for starting things. Well, the day we had made plans for came around, and she got drunk while out with friends. She started texting me and said she wanted to come over, that she wanted another night of fun, that I owed her this for starting things the previous night. I again repeated that wasn't a good idea and that I didn't want her to come over. She calls me and says all of our friends had already left and she didn't have anywhere to go and was too drunk to drive herself the 40 minutes home. She just needs a place to crash and can she just lift the 5 minutes to my house and crash there until the morning. I found out later this was all a lie. All of our friends were still there and waiting to see if she was going to my house or if they were going to have to take her in for the night. She had apparently been telling them we were going to be seeing each other that night. I ultimately give in and let her come over. I didn't want her to drive home in the state she was in and figured this was the safest option. She immediately tries to kiss me and I stop her. Tell her that isn't going to happen and that she is welcome to sober up and crash at my place, but that we won't be doing anything. I get her water and food and we start watching TV while talking about our lives and what was new. She again tries to start things, even going so far as to get on top of me and try to kiss me, at which point I push her off and again tell her that isn't happening. She starts making the same arguments about it not being fair that I had started things the other day and she just needs this for closure. Just one last time is all she wants. Just for fun, doesn't have to mean anything. I repeat myself in my apologies for the other day and that it isn't going to happen that night. That it wasn't a good idea. She eventually drops it and we keep talking. She seems to be sobering up, and I suggest we call it a night. I have a guest room she stayed in, and I went to my room. Sometime later I woke up to her writing me. I froze, like 100% WTF as this froze. I'm literally shaking as I write this right now. I am a heavy sleeper, but I never thought I would be that heavy of a sleeper. I was still half awake when I finally stopped her after what felt like an eternity. She started crying, and out of shock, anger, and sleepiness, I rolled over and went back to sleep. The next day I woke up and it all hit me at once. I realized, remembered what happened, and she was still there in bed with me. I told her to wake up and get dressed, that we were leaving and I was taking her back to her sister's place. I was silent most of the car ride. She was apologizing, saying it was a misunderstanding, that I had asked her for it. She asked me to say something and I told her that if the roles had been reversed last night, that this would be rape. She fell silent and started crying again. When we got to her sister's place I stopped and waited for her to get out of the car, but she didn't. She started apologizing again, saying how great of a guy the first was and how she felt like she had fucked it all up. I stopped her and told her that she had, and that I never wanted to see her again. She left my car crying. The rest of that day was a haze for me. I went to my close friend's house and told them what happened. They were there the night before, which is how I know she had been lying to me and to them. They listened to me and told me they were there for me if I needed anything. I met up with her sister and let her know what happened. She was very quiet and didn't say much of anything. The next day I had a breakdown at work. Was fighting off panic attacks and trying to find a therapist to see. Spent 4 hours talking to my insurance company and calling around trying to find an appointment same day. After finally revealing that I had been raped, I was transferred to an in-house doctor, may have been a nurse, at my insurance company, and they listened to everything and convinced me to go to a local service for sexual assault victims for help and to have a rape kit done. One of my biggest fears was her getting pregnant. It's been a while now, but I still get random panic attacks about it. She texted me a few times over a few days after it had happened. I told her that she had raped me, and I wanted nothing to do with her. To leave me alone and not contact me. She has reached out once or twice since then, but I have yet to respond. I started therapy for the first time in almost a decade and was able to talk through what happened and come to peace with it. I feared about the experience changing who I was as a person. About not being as outgoing and friendly and helpful to those around me and those in need. Time will tell, I guess. I ultimately decided not to press charges against her, but that came many conversations with a lawyer and my therapist. For anyone out there, male or female, that has been through this, I am so sorry. Please, get the help you need, lean on your friends, and know it wasn't your fault. But ultimately, don't let it change you. Don't let that person have that kind of power over you. I got too drunk at a party hosted at my house. A female coworker of mine was there. She had previously indicated a sexual interest in me, but the feeling was not mutual. I remember going to bed alone. My roommates confirmed that I did. I woke up with her in my bed, naked. I was not wearing any underwear. I laid there silently for a long while, not really knowing what to say. Eventually she woke up, kissed me on the mouth like nothing happened, then got up and put clothes on. She left me still in bed, hungover as all hell, trying to figure out what had happened. I didn't have any condoms in my room, and I never found one after. I later found out I had a cancer-causing strain of HPV. I can't guarantee that it came from her. But she seems the most likely candidate. My friends laughed it off, so I did too. She left my company to join the National Guard shortly after the incident. I never reported it to any law enforcement. I think I made the best decision for myself. It gave me an interesting perspective on the statistics surrounding rape reporting. I think I better understand why a victim would choose not to come forward. I mostly don't think about the incident now. It was about 6 years ago. On an island camping in Australia, drank loads of wine, passed out in a tent, woke up to someone sucking my dick, passed out again and woke up to someone on top of me, found out in the morning it was the fat girl, never really bothered me but I wasn't in a state to consent, if it was the other way around I'd be in jail now. Double standards. When I tell anyone about it they just laugh. I was very drunk, I passed out and woke up the next morning with my underwear off and some fat chick lying next to me. I'm still trying to scrape that memory out of my mind. When I was in college, I'd lost my sublease and was crashing at a friend's house for a few weeks, and we had a big house party. I drank way too much and was being aggressively pursued by a girl I was in no way attracted to. I was fading fast and every time I started to drift off, she'd be all over me, slobbering on my mouth and pawing at my crotch. After pushing her off the third time, I went in my bedroom, locked the door and passed right out. After some amount of time I woke up to find she'd jimmied the crappy lock, was naked, and was sucking my penis to get it hard enough to jump on. I'd been trying to put her off politely all night, but now I was just mad. I started yelling at her to get the fuck out and called her a fat pig, and threw her clothes out into the hall. When she went after them, I locked and blocked the door with my body, eventually passing out there. In the morning I found out everyone in the house was mad at me. They'd all seen her pawing at my drunk ass all night and thought it was hilarious, and said that what I did, throwing her naked into the hall, and said to her was horrible and uncalled for. Nobody gave two shits for the fact that she'd sexually assaulted me, and would have full-on bareback fucked me if I hadn't woken up. No, calling a girl fat was way, way worse. Try to imagine if a man jimmied a drunk woman's locked door to get access to rape her, then undressed and began performing oral sex on her to get ready for penetration. Nobody would have faulted the women for literally shooting the guy, but reversed the sexes and the guy is in the wrong for not wanting to be raped, and everyone thinks it's hilarious. Women do rape men, and nobody cares. In fact, they'll look you right in the face and tell you all the reasons you obviously enjoyed it. Every time someone says, yeah, but how often do women really rape men? I think, as often as they want, because nobody cares when they do. Posted this before. My friends and I went down to beach week right after high school graduation. Basically all the high school kids get houses and hotels at a large tourist beach area and hang out and drink all week. So I had gotten my own house but decided to drink one night and stay out and crash at a buddy's that was closer once we were all done. I ended up not knowing my limits as a dumb high school kid and got blackout drunk to the point I remember only tiny slivers of bits and pieces of the night. What I do remember is N, the name I refer to as my rapist, wasn't drinking at all, and when we got back to my buddy's house, me throwing up in the toilet and her rubbing my hair while I was vomiting. I then remember passing out on the couch downstairs. N had her own bedroom at this place upstairs. I woke up the next morning crazy, sticky and sweaty in a twin bed with a condom still halfway on my flaccid penis and absolutely no memory of how I arrived at this place. So I get up without waking her up and go shower immediately and go downstairs to talk to another dude who crashed on the couch next to me that night who was fairly sober. Apparently what happened was N came downstairs and asked if I wanted some water and then told me to come upstairs with her to get it. Couch buddy told me he then heard me half-heartedly arguing that I wanted to go back to sleep downstairs and that I ended up basically yelling, "No, I don't want to go to your bedroom." After that he said it was quiet and he didn't know what was going on, so he went to sleep. I also found out that N had gone to the guy who had rented this place out and asked for condoms and apparently told him what was going on and he just gave her the condoms. So after finding all of this out and N still being asleep, I didn't know how to react to any of them after I was raped, and they were all fully aware of what was going on and took no actions to stop it at all. So I called up another friend who picked me up in about a half hour and went back to my place and basically didn't leave the bedroom I was in for the next 2 days, in a combination of terribly hangover and confusion on how to feel about this. I just decided to never talk to any of them again and not really bother addressing it. Couch buddy called me about a week later asking how I was doing and whatnot. There was no fallout for N when she woke up, and everyone there was kinda of the mindset that Lord Bear Hamer got laid, granted not by someone he wanted, but he still got laid by an okay-looking girl. The only one who thought the situation was fucked up was Couch buddy. I refused to talk to anyone besides Couch buddy who was there after that. The long-term effects, this was 9 years ago now. I still won't drink to get anything beyond a heavy buzz because I associate anything more as a complete feeling of helplessness and powerlessness, which I never had before this incident. I immediately develop whiskey dick anytime I even taste alcohol, again never had a problem before. Finally lost a good group of friends because I wouldn't see the bright side that I had gotten laid. I ended up seeing her again about 4 years later on a college campus when I was visiting a mutual friend. I had no idea she was coming over and he didn't either, as he knew our history, but she heard I was up there through the grapevine and decided it would be a good time to try and patch things up. As soon as she walked in, I got up, went to the closest door, walked in, and shut it behind me. After about 30 seconds N said, "Lord Bear Hammer, you know that's a closet, right?" I responded yep and just stayed in there till she left. That's basically that story. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel, so that we can create more quality content in the future.